Let's get out to George Tsilis now, because we do have some data, and I suppose we're getting an indication of how investors are feeling about everything, George. But we want to know how consumers are feeling as well, particularly because of how people are feeling at the pump about some of these kitchen table issues. We've just got the survey out from UMich. Walk us through what you're seeing.
Well, I mean, this is soft data, so you can see that there's impact going on since the end of February, because if you look at the sentiment numbers as a whole, they published 53.3. That was down relative to the previous month at 56.6, but also missing the consensus estimates, which were already expected to be down to around 55.5. But you can see also that if you look at the one-year inflation expectations, they've jumped about 40 basis points to 3.8% from 3.4%. Again, they were forecasted to be pretty much in line relative to the previous month at 3.4. The five-year inflation expectations didn't budge at around 3.2%. So it looks like right now, at least from a consumer sentiment standpoint or consumer expectation standpoint, everyone seems to be in line with what's going on with oil prices moving higher. And it's also, again, reflective of what's going on in the bond market. You mentioned the 10-year yields. The 2-year yields are softening just slightly today, but at around 3.95%, they continue to increase as a result of what's happening from an inflation push standpoint across the board from energy.
Yeah, I was seeing long-term bonds, biggest ever outflow since March 2020. So that really gives you an idea of that end of the curve, as you say. I mean, obviously, we've seen that as a global story that's been playing out everywhere from Germany to the UK to Australia as well. Much more sort of hawkish sounding central banks with some of these inflationary pressures. I suppose the big question is, what we're going to see on the fiscal side, as far as, government stepping in to support what is now looking like potentially shaky growth forecasts with some of these stagflationary signals we're getting from, like, the PMIs, for instance. So President Trump came out with this Truth Social post. Interesting timing. It was just minutes after the Wall Street closed yesterday, after what had been a pretty tough day for markets. It seems to have failed to spark some optimism now as we go into the weekend. Just walk us through what you think that means and some of the other headlines which may be weighing on sentiment today, George.
So, I think let's look at things from a half glass full standpoint, at least from a sentiment standpoint. You go back to April of last year, sentiment was actually quite a bit lower. So we're not actually at that level as of the tariff scare last year, April, as we are now. So that's positive. So it looks like to me, at the very least, that consumers expect this to pass. But if you look at the markets, interesting enough this week, the S&P is now, at least right now, trading below last Friday's low. So again, if you look at the 50-week moving average, it's trading below that level. And that could, again, add some more pressure into the next coming couple of weeks. But the challenge really lies, and I think this is the consensus out there, that everyone expects this to pass. But that actually might be a little bit dangerous in this environment. In other words, everyone is ready, not selling as much as they would like to or you would expect them to. It seems like there's the institutional support of this market, but again, everyone's on one side of the trade. There doesn't seem to be a aggressive selling going on. So we're in a rolling correction, is how I describe it. It's a really bad correction, because it's just slowly grinding to the downside of the volatility, the upside. The challenge really lies is going into the weekend, position traders probably don't want to hold positions unless things change, which they can on a dime, because we know a tweet or some sort of comment from the White House can flip this market. And that might come about from some more clarity on the war, but also it could come about from some reprieve or pullback on tariffs. Those are two very prominent catalysts that could create a whipsaw rally back to the upside. So, it's a challenge to be short this market, but it's also a challenge to add longs. And so, for what it's worth, again, you just have to wait and see until we get some concrete clarity on the outcome of war. Because looking at crude oil this week, it really hasn't moved all that much compared to last week, but the markets haven't been really receptive to some of the positive news, especially the news after the close yesterday on the Trump administration's pause on at least attacks on oil infrastructure in Iran.
Well, that's Right, and after that, I mean, we broke that on market on close just before we wrapped things up yesterday. And I'd been looking at a lot of the commentary following that saying, is this a taco trade? Because they have been good for the markets, but that doesn't seem to be the case so much. And, you know, maybe it's because of some of the conflicting headlines, the expectation of more troops heading obviously to the Middle East as well. Fascinating journal report on Iran actually blocking 2 Chinese ships from Hormuz, which is pretty rare given that if you've had a Chinese flag on your ship, you've actually been, for the most part, allowed through. But yeah, it's an interesting market, given what you've just laid out. Binary risk, isn't it, George? I mean, it can de-escalate as quickly as it can re-escalate. You mentioned correction. In that territory, you've got S&P sectors like financials, discretionary, communication services, and technology. Just walk us through what your expectations are for, you know, volatility heading into the weekend, since we have seen that de-risking typically in the last few weeks.
Well, I mean, if you look, I'm just looking at the term structure right now. The term structure is relatively flat, looking at 9 to 30-day to 90-day volatility. So again, that speaks to potentially some sort of a pivot back to the upside in very short order. So that's the challenge of saying, hey, I'm going to attack to the downside and be a bear, because any tweet can change the outcome of this market. But again, you know, the market rolling over, at least right now, as of things are trading so far, there's a possibility we end up near the last year February levels. Again, prior to the tariff scare, that's a possibility because that's a technical shelf, at least on the market. But again, you know, unless there's some reprieve, this market's still going to be relatively challenged, because this week's interesting in the sense that crude oil really hasn't spiked all that much higher compared to last week, but the markets have not been, you know, receptive. Plus, I think the endogenous factors are still out there, and that includes, you know, the private credit risk, which I've talked about quite a bit. That there's no such thing as sequestration of private credit. It's baked into the banking system. It's tied into the banking system. That it can create an asset liability mismatch. Plus, you know, looking at the memory manufacturers, Micron and SanDisk, they're up a little bit today, but they've been down significantly over the last couple of weeks, and the big mega cap names like Microsoft and Oracle have been really rolling over since late last year, the Q4 of last year. So I think that's indicative of potentially the overinvestment cycle of AI. That's endogenous. But again, you throw in the exogenous factors, tariffs, war, it's just too much. And I think right now the market is telling us this. But again, it's tough to be short because any outcome could be positive to reverse this market higher.
I was speaking to some of my guests about that as well. I mean, being capexed up to the eyeballs in a market like this, when you have a potential for an energy shock, not to mention some of those memory prices, it's why we've seen perhaps a migration of capital out of some of the paper assets into some of the harder assets, even though they've pulled back a bit. But you've got gold and silver up on a day when the dollar is up as well. So it's such an interesting market from the perspective of some of these dynamics. George, really appreciate it. Thanks for getting us across some of the moves for us today.